going to give ourselves, let's see, if more than one of us has seen the thing, I think we'll give ourselves a little bit more time. So we'll give ourselves,
Okay.
and we're going to kick off with Men, which is
J-
which I think it is, for better or worse, it is the big cinema release this week. Men is the
Yeah.
one that is probably got the most talking points about it. So Sean and I have seen this. So I'm going to give a little bit of a pressy about this and try and talk about it, and then I will wind Sean up and let Sean go while he and when he will tell us what, and if you, because I think Sharon and Holly, you might have seen me saying something about this um on Facebook, and
Oh,
spoiler alert, all I said on Facebook was weird ass film. So, but this film stars Jessie
Seen
Buckley,
the
Sharon.
trailer.
Sorry, what was that, Sharon?
I have seen the trailer, so yeah, I know the weirdness.
Yeah, yeah. I think this
I
is a
have
film.
not.
This is a film that right from the trailer, you watch the trailer and you think this is going to be a weird ass film, and it's and it delivers. It delivers on that. But the thing is Alexander Payne who wrote and directed it, and no, is it Alexander Payne or Alexander Garland? I'm getting those two confused. But anyway, he's. I'm gonna check that before the end of this thing. And the whole idea behind it is that you meet Jessie Buckley. She's a woman called Harper, and when you first meet her, she's driving down the M4, going towards. There's a point where you see a sign saying Gloucester, and she goes to this big country house, which it turns out that she has hired for the next 2 weeks, and she's going to be staying in this country house for the next 2 weeks. Why she's going to be staying there, you don't know, but that as it transpires, you find out that she's had like a trauma in London. Essentially, she was married to a guy who was played by Papa Essiedu, and he died. He died, and she's going away from London for a while to be by herself to sort of like heal, recover, all that. And the first person she meets is this guy called Jeffrey, who is played by Rory Kinnear, and he's like a sort of like a posh country person who owns the house and he's the landlord and all that sort of stuff. And as the film goes on, she meets a whole bunch of different men, as in the film called title. And the big gimmick of this film that sort of catches all the attention is that all the men in the film, apart from her husband, are played by Rory Kinnear. So every single man that she meets has the same face. Every single man that she meets, sort of like she has all these interactions with all these different men as she's going through this whole thing, and it then becomes almost kind of like there's elements of like a horror film where it's like, why do all these men have the same face? Are they being haunted? Why is it that she doesn't seem to notice that all these men have the same face? Even at one point where she meets a boy, and this is a boy of school age that has the same face, in one of the weirdest, freakiest pieces of CGI you will ever
Yeah,
see.
it's pretty bizarre.
It is so freaky each time that kid shows up, and that's the basic premise. That's the basic premise. And the someone asked me when I said this was a weird ass film. Someone asked me, "Oh, would I They made a horrible pun. Said, "Would I recommend it?" And after I'd groaned, I said, "Like this is the kind of film that if you like the kind of film where you're guaranteed to have like a 3 a.m. university style conversation about this film, where there's one person in your group of friends who is convinced that all of you are just a bit too dumb to understand what exactly is going on in this film, you can actually, this is the film for you, because that's the kind of film that will do that." So having put that as the premise of it, as the premise of her meeting all these men and all that, I think one other thing I should say is all of her interactions with these men end up being unpleasant. So all interaction with these men, they end up being unpleasant in different ways. Whether it's being physically threatened, or whether it's being, I guess, blamed for the death of her husband, or whether it's just being called a nasty name, all of her interactions end up being unpleasant with it. And I think that will kind of tell you what this film is getting at. But Sean, what did you think?
Okay, well, to me, this was a film of two halves. I liked the first half. There was a lot of atmosphere. It reminded me of some of those 70s like Peter
Yep.
Walker movies, like which was pretty good, and maybe a little bit of The Innocents, the film from the Deborah Kerr film '63.
Yep.
I
Yep.
thought this could be quite good, and it starts off really quite atmospheric. And the first guy you meet, it's in the trailer, so it doesn't matter. It's like I forget what Mister he is, but he's the chap who's basically renting the house out that owns the
Yeah,
house.
Jeffrey. Yeah.
He's like and yeah, Jeffrey, that's him, Jeffrey. And I actually know someone who's very, very similar to that. That was, I must say, that was quite a country type person. That was quite convincing. And I was like, with the friendly alcoholic, rosy cheeks and that,
Yeah.
obviously. Oh, man. So yeah, so I thought that was really good, and it started to intrigue me. I thought, well, this could go somewhere. This could go somewhere. And then there's some weird echoey stuff, which was like, well, where's this going? And
the bit with the tunnel.
Yeah, in the tunnel. And there's a hell of a lot of imagery in this film.
Yeah.
And it gradually gets, as things go on, it gradually gets a little bit weirder. And the priest actually reminded me of what's that TV program where they're all like, I don't know, it's like a village or something. They're in a I can't remember.
Ballykiss Angel.
No, not so much that. It's more, they're all a bit weird.
That sort of thing.
Pardon?
League of Gentlemen, that sort
League
of
of
thing.
Gentlemen here. Yeah, it's like the League of Gentlemen, right? Especially the priest. It's sort of, it goes a bit bizarre there, and I did find him a bit, like you say, the weirdest schoolboy ever. That's just like,
oh my god, why?
So yeah, so it really, I thought, this is quite good. This is going somewhere. This could be interesting. Visually, it's quite nice. And then I thought it started to get a bit, I don't know. It just started to sort of gradually. I don't know whether it seemed longer. Perhaps it was a long film. Perhaps I was getting, I need something to happen, and it just got really, really strange. So for me, this was like a film of two halves, and it is. I mean, the very final part of the film is totally
bonkers.
Really bizarre. And I'm generally quite good at figuring out weird stuff, but even that was like
the last 15 minutes of the film. The last 15 minutes you're like, what the hell am I watching?
What's going on? I mean, I like the symbolism of, with the one that's on the fount. What's on the fount in the church?
Yeah, the church.
There's two images, isn't there? And one of the guys actually looks like the creature. I think it's called the Green Man or something, a bit Wicker Man-ish. I thought that was quite effective. But yeah, that was.
There's a little bit of folk. Yeah, there's a little bit of folk horror about it, and there's a little bit of like, city person goes into the countryside, and then weird things happen because you're not used to the country and all that. There's a little bit of that in there. But so I mean, Shaun, a lot of what you say, yeah, I agree with. But the thing is, and the problem we have here is that we have a film called Men that I think once it's called Men, and once you know that the main character is a woman, I'm immediately thinking, okay, this is going to be a little bit of the symbolism, and it's going to be a critique about the place of women in the world today and what men do and all that sort of stuff. But we have a podcast in which the two men have seen the film and the two women haven't.
It would be intriguing to see what they think of it. But I don't know, you might not get a chance. But it would really intrigue me to know their thoughts on it, especially Sharon, because she's got that sort of really good cerebral mind that will probably say, oh, this was this and this was this.
It would be really good to find out, because I mean, there have been quite a few films that have been released recently that start trying to tackle with this whole idea of what kind of world women have, and what kind of microaggressions that they have to deal with, and what kind of actual aggression that they have to deal with that in the world, and just because of the way the world is and all that. So, and usually I have to approach these things by going, I'm a man, and I don't think I'm going to get some of this. But and if I think about another film that, Shaun, you were just about to say, that a film that sort of sticks in your mind and you're still thinking about it, and it's kind of weird and a bit like, I think of Mother. And the film
Mother. That's what I was just going to say. That exactly.
Yeah. And I think of the film Mother, and that film, when it came out, everybody was like, "What the hell is this? What is going on?" But I felt like in Mother, there was always something interesting happening on screen. That to go, okay, hang on, and you give you this whole thing about symbolism. This is a slower film, and there were bits of the film where I thought like, look, there's just nothing happening. Why is this thing dragging on? And it felt to me, and I say this with a caveat of I'm a man, and the thing that they're talking about, I might not get, because it's kind of like, it's kind of unrelenting in the fact that, the fact that all the men have the same face, that is kind of like tells you one thing, that like, that it's just like this power of manhood is just like this one thing and you're not sure whether, like you mentioned something else where you're not about the innocence, because you're not sure whether this is happening in her head or whether it's actually happening.
Exactly.
And there's things that they do later in the film to actually totally confuse that question as to whether it's happening in her head. They deliberately confuse the question as to whether it's happening in her head or what's actually happening. But it's relentless. And I know that for some women that might be their experience, that this whole sort of like, threat of manhood is a relentless thing around them all the time. However, this film felt a bit to me like it was a student film that had one idea and stretched it to an hour and 40 minutes. And that is, and that was the bit I'm like, okay, cool, we get the point. Yeah, men are horrible. Women don't have it best in this world. What is your next point?
Yeah,
and it doesn't seem to get away from that point. That just seems to stay there and live there and give you all this symbolism that I don't really get. Even though Rory Kinnear is brilliant as every single character he plays, I'll even just about forgive him for that freaky faced boy. And yeah, and he is brilliant as every character he plays in it. Jessie Buckley is good, but there's just, for me, the swathes of the film where nothing really happens. It goes a little bit too much to the pretentious side and to the, oh, look at this, look how, oh yeah, we're taking, the bad guy of this film is really the patriarchy, and Rory Kinnear is he's the physical manifestation of the patriarchy and all that. And you're like, okay, yeah, but what's the point? Where's the next thing? Where are we going forward to? And I think that's why, because the only film I can compare this to in the last couple of years is Mother. Mother was a bit like, but I think Mother kept moving and kept going on and kept giving you something new. This just keep giving you the same unrelenting one note thing that, oh, quite frankly, aren't men horrible? And oh, look at this symbolism of what a woman's experience is today, being surrounded by all these men who might as well just be the same person because they just keep perpetrating the same sort of like trauma. But and that's why I want to see, because I feel like this is a film that if you're a woman, you might be seeing something different, or maybe not, because I feel it just doesn't make its point that well, and it becomes quite samey, and then it just gets and I was looking at I was the only person in the cinema. I was doing stretches during the film. I was doing stretches during the film. I was going there. I was like, oh, I wonder what time it is. I actually looked up how long is this film? An hour 40 minutes, just so you know. But so I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I very much concur with that. It could have been, I mean, as I say, I loved the first. It's a film with 2 halves for me. If we could have had the first half and had that as a film, then it would have got a lot higher. But when it went on and it dragged on, and okay, I'm going to have to say I'm going to agree with you totally on this one. Toes, everything you said is I totally agree with, and so get a 3 for me this one.
Yeah, of course, because I've got my finger off and if you don't agree with me, I can just cut you off. But
yeah,
but I think if you guys get a chance to watch it, whenever you get a chance to watch it, it would be intriguing to see what you think.
Yeah, I would love that. I'd so like you guys to see it, so you could give us your version of events.
Probably won't happen until it makes it to Sky, but I will.
I don't think it's going to be that long.
I will do.
No, I don't think it'll be that long.
I don't think it'll be that long before it's on Sky.
So maybe we can have a brief return at some point when it makes it to Sky with the Sharon and Holly.
The Sharon and Holly thing. But honestly,
alternative gender approach.
The last 10 minutes is kind of like. I was just kind of like, I think I get your point.
What was the point of that?
Okay, now if we're going to go into spoilers, I think I can get the point. But this is the big one thing. It just feels so student level base thing of like so many students come with something and go, look how clever I am. But anyway, fans of Alexander Payne or Alexander Garland, whichever one it was, I'm gonna find this out. You can come for me and you can tell me how I'm wrong. And now we go over